Okay, good evening and welcome to the February 8th JEDO Board meeting. We'll call the meeting to order and if the clerk would read the roll, please.
I think the clerk is turning down her volume.
All right, is that better? Okay. All right, Mayor Padilla,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Dobler,
Here.
Councilmember Emberson,
Here.
Councilmember Nager,
Here.
Commissioner Rapon,
Here.
Commissioner Cook,
Here.
and Commissioner Mays.
Here.
We have 7 present for voting members. Non-voting members, we have Councilmember Hiller, Ortiz, Valdivia Acala, Kale, Duncan, and Hofer. All right.
Move on to agenda item number 3, the action items. Are you ready?
Yep.
Go ahead and read, Brenda.
All right. A is approval of the December 14, 2022 JEDO Board meeting minutes.
I'll move approval. Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays and second by Commissioner Cook. Do a roll call.
Sure. Mayor Padilla,
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Dobler,
Yes.
Council members Emerson,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Commissioners Rapon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
and Mays.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, motion's approved. Move on to action 3B. If the clerk will read.
B is approval of a funding amendment in the amount of $45,400 for Project GG.
Okay, and for this evening, we have Ashley Lehman, who's Director of Business Development with Go Topeka.
Thank you. I was going to do an introduction, but thank you for that.
No, this gives us an opportunity to applause if we wish.
I'll pause for applause, yeah. So first, I just wanted to give a reminder that all of the projects are first brought to the Go Topeka board and voted on, and then once approved, they're brought to the JEDO board for funding approval, and then the last step is usually the final contract approval. Both of the projects tonight do follow the incentive guidelines, and all projects are performance-based in structure. So the first one that we have is Project GG. This is an existing business in manufacturing looking to amend their previous contract because they have already met the original numbers that were in place, and so they are looking to invest another $725,000 and add an additional 6 positions with the average wage of $60,000. The economic impact over 10 years will be $51.5 million, making the ROI 41%. So tonight, we request a motion for approval to amend the previously approved contract.
You've heard the presentation. Any questions for Ashley? Motion?
Move approval.
Move to approve by Councilman, Deputy Mayor Dobler and Councilmember Emerson. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dobler,
Yes.
Council members Emerson,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Commissioners Rapon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
and Mays.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, motion's carried. And Ashley, thank you very much. And then I think you're standing for the next one as well. The clerk will read.
C is approval of an incentive agreement in the amount of $190,000 between the Go Topeka and Project Kool-Aid.
Thank you. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. This is also another existing business in manufacturing, and this company actually reached out to us about small business incentives initially, but through further conversations with them and understanding the goals of their company, we quickly realized that the traditional funding would be a better fit for them. So the capital investment they have is $2.1 million. They plan to add 30 new jobs with the average wage of $48,000 plus benefits. The economic impact over 10 years is $175 million with the ROI of 117%. The total incentive funding approved already for this project was $190,000. Again, this was previously approved by Go Topeka and JEDO boards. They follow the incentive guidelines and performance-based. So we are happy to announce that Project Kool-Aid is Harris Fabrication. And so tonight we are requesting a motion for final approval of the contract that's in your packet tonight.
Any questions? Chair will entertain a motion.
I'd move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, move to approve by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. If you'll call the roll, please.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dobler,
Yes.
Council members Emerson,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Commissioners Rapon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
and Mays.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. I would also like to invite the president of Harris Fabrication up to say a few words about the company, if that's okay.
Certainly.
Hello.
Hello.
I just wanted to say thank you guys all for supporting us and being behind us as we continue this growth here in the capital city. We're really looking forward to partnering with you guys and continuing that growth in the future. We've been in this area since I started this in 2011, and we've been in Topeka since 2013, and just the city's really, the support that you guys have given us has been great so far, and we really appreciate the money to help fund some of the stuff that we have coming forward. So just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for keeping your business in Topeka and Shawnee County.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
I think if it's okay, we would pause to take a photo with them.
We can do that.
Let's do it.
Great, thank you.
We'll go into quick pause. Tony, you want to get your makeup done? Action item 3D. Brenda, will you read?
D is approval of a funding increase in the amount of $200,000 for the Small Business Incentives Program.
Okay. We have another presenter. I'll allow you to present yourself.
Thank you. Stephanie Moran, Senior Vice President of Innovation for Go Topeka. If you'll recall at the December JEDO meeting, Councilman Duncan had inquired about the Small Business Incentive Program and where we were at with that. We've now got a full year of data and we're ready to kind of present that analysis to you. We presented this same analysis to the Go Board yesterday and got an approval on the request that we're presenting to you. All right, so in 2022, we had available funding of $300,000. As you can see by the chart, The business applications that came in throughout the city and the county. We had a wide variety of applications come in. We actually had 82 businesses submit qualified applications, which was an incredibly impressive number. We were overwhelmed by the responses that we received under the new program. The average request of these businesses was $13,500 in incentives for each across the businesses. If you take that with the $300,000 that we had available, we could fully fund 22 businesses at that $13,500. Looking at some historical data, what you'll see is, on average, over the last several years, we've had about a $300,000 budget. In 2020 and 2021, we actually had an increase during the pandemic years of $430,000 in 2020 and $540,000 in 2021. As we approach 2022, the decision was made to set back to historical levels post-pandemic and analyze the new program. If you'll recall some of the program changes for 2022, this is a very competitive application process. So we have a small business incentives committee that reviews all of the applications, looks at the merits of the proposed use of funds, and determines if they will make a good economic impact to our community. We also go through a tiered evaluation process. We're really looking at primary employers who can bring in revenue from outside of the county. We're also looking at strategic community partners, which may be those initiatives that are found in like Momentum 2027, such as childcare, healthcare initiatives, anything that's a strategic community need. Pre-approval is required for reimbursement on each of these incentives. There were also minimums implemented for each of these incentives. In previous years, there were no minimums, and a lot of times we saw requests lower than $1,000. So on each incentive, the minimum is now anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 on the request, which we believe contributes to the quality of the program and the projects that we're approving. There were also an addition of incentives to drive innovation. There's a proof of concept. There's SBIR and STTR programs available as well to drive innovation and entrepreneurship within our community. So as we look at that, the program was effective January 1st of 2022. The first projects under the new rules were completed in late June. As part of the new process, we're also sending out surveys annually to those businesses who have received incentives. So the first surveys under the new program will go out in June of 2023. During their project completion process, they are evaluated monthly. They must send in monthly progress reports to see how their project is going. And if they are hitting any roadblocks, then our team can help identify if there are other solutions that we can find. A lot of the things that we've seen are supply chain issues, contractor delays, a lot of the things that we hear from businesses that are very common. So some of those businesses have received extension periods on their initial evaluation timeframe. To date, we have paid out approximately $120,000 of the $300,000. So there's still 2/3 of the projects that are in progress that have been approved in 2022. Okay. So as we look at the committee's metrics from this past year, as I mentioned earlier, we had 82 applications. We were able to fully fund 7 of those applications. The committee made a decision to then partially fund other requests in order to try and target a number of businesses and be able to support as many businesses as we could. So in total, we awarded 40 businesses incentives under the program. The total request of those incentives from those 82 businesses was $1.1 million. As I mentioned earlier, we had $300,000 in funding, so we've got a pretty significant gap in the requests we're receiving against the budget that we had in 2022. On the average request of those incentives, if we're targeting those primary employers, those requests are actually coming in much higher. So those businesses are really looking for significant expansion. Those requests come in at a higher average of about $20,000 versus the overall average of $13,500. Of the 40 businesses that we funded, the average funding was $7,500 for the past year. We just saw a great example with Project Kool-Aid, where they initially came in under the Small Business Incentives Program. It was identified pretty quickly that we thought there was an opportunity to work with them on the traditional business incentive side. So Lori worked closely with Ashley, and we were able to move them from our category into the other, which freed up funding for some other businesses. Okay. All right, so as we've talked about, we've got a significant gap in applicant requests versus funding. We've either got a large percentage of qualified applicants that are denied, or, as what we saw this past year, requests are only partially funded so that we can target as many businesses as possible. The other thing that's unique with this program is it's really spreading through word of mouth. We've done very minimal marketing on this, and as we saw the initial requests come in the first quarter of last year, we decided we really needed to hold back on the marketing because we were concerned that we would have even more requests than what we could fund, and we didn't want to disappoint those who were applying, have them do a lot of extra work when we knew we didn't have the funding to support it. In order to close that gap and keep the program competitive, we're requesting to allocate up to $200,000 from carry forward funds to augment the $300,000 that's in the budget for 2023. This would give the program a total of $500,000 in 2023. If we go back and look at averages, if we can increase that average award to $10,000 across those businesses, this would fund 50 businesses this year versus the 40 last year at $7,500. We also want to market the program because we want to ensure that it's getting out to all of the community. We're concerned that there may be pockets of the population who are not having access to this program, and we want to make sure that that's occurring. Some of the things that we're doing to also augment the gap, we do the referral sources. So if we have businesses that come in that may not be quite put together or ready for the incentives program or need additional help, we're referring them to programs such as the SBDC or other places in town that can help them prepare their business for that incentives program. We're looking for alternate funding resources as well. As we mentioned, traditional resources, other loan programs within the community and within the state that might be able to help those businesses. And we're conducting additional analysis. So for 2024, like I said, we'll start to get those surveys back in. We can see what kind of impact these projects are having in the community, which will then help us further identify the best use of funds and how to allocate those to businesses in the community. So we're requesting a motion to allocate $200,000 in carry forward funds for the Small Business Incentives Program, providing a total budget of $500,000 for this program in 2023. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Cook?
Can you talk to us a little bit about what are the metrics you're looking at, or what are the characteristics you're looking at in deciding what to fund and what not to fund? Is it based on number of employees? Is it based on wages? Is it based on capital investment? What makes the cut and what's falling above and below the line?
The initial thing we'll look at is, are the businesses primary employers? So anything that we can do to increase economic development within the community, if we're bringing revenue in from outside of the city or outside of the county and even outside of the state, that brings additional economic impact to the community. So we'll look at those primary employers first. We're also looking at number of employees. They have to submit a proposed use of funds and what that impact will be to their business. So are we driving job increases? Are we driving additional product lines? What is this doing? Is this growing their business to where they can take on additional customers? Looking at those types of things. Childcare has been a big focus. We've been able to fund some childcare centers. We know that's a critical need in the community. So in that second tier, we're really looking at businesses that are providing critical infrastructure. So as we look to grow our community, bring in additional workforce, employees, do we have those critical services to help support them as they come into the community?
But as far as the income goes, are we looking at an income threshold like we would with other major employers where it would have to be at, or above, 30, 35, 40, 45,000? I mean, do we have a threshold that we're looking at?
In the Small Business Incentives Program, we don't have that threshold. That is something that we could certainly look at as we go through the analysis under this new program. You know, a lot of these businesses tend to be very small, so you're talking 1 to 10 employees. You know, we're trying to help them get to that next hurdle so that they can continue to grow into businesses like Harris Fabrication that we just saw as they expand their growth opportunities in the community.
Okay. Go ahead.
Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Stephanie. Could
Yes.
you give us an idea of what a typical project looks like? You've mentioned projects a few times. Trying to wrap my arms around what that might look like. Thank you.
Absolutely. Our incentives, the larger incentives that we have are for equipment and construction. So if you look at businesses, it could be one of our businesses that we funded earlier this year, Story Factory is a good example. They were able to purchase additional photography video equipment, which has allowed them to then go out and target customers outside of the community. So they're now doing video work for clients in other states, which is again bringing revenue into the community. Others may have building out additional space within their facility, adding in, we've had businesses that have added in cooler space, which has allowed them to increase their retail footprint. It can be additional upgrades to the building as far as safety codes, allowing access to a building. So, you know, roll-up doors that allow, trucks to come in, deliver product, which instead of having to come through front doors and that type of thing. There's a lot of different types of projects. The daycare facilities, you know, being able to stand those daycare facilities up, having all the equipment that they need, the security, safety measures for them to be able to support the children in those facilities.
Thank you.
Yep.
Further questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Commissioner?
Stephanie, in just looking at your little, the chart that you have here.
Yep.
The average award jumped quite a bit
It
just
did.
this year. And so, I mean, I understand inflation and all that, but I mean, this is a pretty substantial amount. Is there a reason for that?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, we implemented minimums on a lot of these incentives this year. So if you look at like especially the equipment and construction, which are the largest portion of the incentives that we award, those minimums are $5,000 and $7,500, depending on the number of employees in that business. So the award for businesses with 1 to 10 employees is a max of $10,000. 10 employees to 100 is a max of $15,000 on those, and then the minimums are set at $5,000 and $7,500. So that it has to be a pretty significant project for it to come into those equipment and construction incentives.
Commissioner Cook?
So let's talk about this funding request.
Yes,
You're asking for it to come through the carryover funds.
yes.
I don't know that anybody here is going to fault small businesses and growing small businesses in our community, but let's talk about the funding source. If we take the money from the carryover funds, that's going to leave us $200,000 less in our carryover funds. And I know that we significantly use carryover funds during during COVID for small businesses and sustainability of businesses. How much is this going to leave us with our carryover funds? And I see Molly,
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Howie
Molly
getting
jump
ready to
in on
jump
that.
up.
So at the end of the year in 2022, when we presented the carry forward breakdown, there was about 2.9 million in unallocated carry forward funds. So that's one answer to your question. But if we were to just if we would have increased our budget going into 2023 and known what we know now and requested a full 500, it would have affected the same result because we would have been dipping into carry forward from the budget being higher than what our annual revenue would be.
The alternative to increasing it from carryover funds, or carry forward funds rather, would be for us to amend the budget and take the 200,000 from some other area and reallocate to it. Is there an area in the budget that we, in the first month and a half, or almost, have looked at and said, I think that our projections were off on that, or is every dollar vitally needed for the entire budget?
We sharpened our pencil a lot going into 2023 and even going into 2022, just to be cognizant of the amount of dollars that we do have in carry forward. So as it stands right now, I would not say that there's any area that we are going to expect a surplus of funds. except for our incentives bucket. Like, that's the area where at the end of the year, timing is always an issue, but that comes from your carry forward anyway, and so I don't expect underperformance of those incentives. It would only be a timing issue to where I could see that, you know, we have an incentive that we plan to pay out in 2022 that maybe doesn't come to fruition until, or in 2023, that maybe doesn't come to fruition until 2024, but those dollars would still be allocated. So, long answer, but no, I don't see an area where we could cut $200,000.
And the last question I have, we talk about unallocated funds. There's a number of funds that we have allocated or put a fence around based on incentives that were already granted. Do we have companies that are not meeting their incentives that would then free up that unallocated money?
So each company is on its own verification schedule based on, they're not all in January, so they're all on their own verification calendar year. And as we go through those, we're not finding many that are underperforming. Like I said, it's usually a timing issue. However, we have talked about if there is, you know, we will keep a close eye on companies that are not responding or are not projecting to meet those levels, then we can have a better idea of those funds. But as the contract is written, we have to be able to fulfill them within the time period if they do perform. But we can keep a dashboard of that and share that with JEDO if that's something that would be helpful.
The classic example that always comes to mind is the distribution facility that projected employing a number of employees and then went to more automation.
Sure.
So for efficiency, they can't meet their incentives of employees because of the automation. And so that money would then become released for allocation something else. So.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea, and I think that's something that we keep an eye on, but we aren't as forward about sharing that with you all. So that's something that we could definitely share as a dashboard with you all, that, you know, we know that a company is not going to perform at a certain level or is performing much slower or much lower, and keep an eye on that. But as the contract is written, we would still have to hold those funds should something happen and they bring on a new client, you know, within their 5-year performance period or something, and then just end up backloading, I guess you'd say, their employment projections.
So I think the concern is that if we take too much from the carryover funds or carry forward funds, as they're actually called, we may not have the incentives for a major project that would come to the community. That's
correct. That is a very tough balance to strike and something that we're keeping an eye on. However, I think that the 2 items that we do have from carry forward funds tonight show a great ROI and have proven that they are creating the economic impact in the community that we would like to see.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, just following up on Commissioner Cook's question, what did the carryover funds or carry forward funds look like at the end of 2021 versus 2022? I mean, are they growing or shrinking, I guess?
They're shrinking based on projects like this one, but not at a high rate. I'm trying to remember, and you're going to test my knowledge of those numbers. I'm going to have to get back with you on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions?
No, just an observation that during COVID, a number of allocations were made by the JEDO board using our carry forward funds for small businesses and for business sustainability so that we could keep those businesses intact during the early days of the pandemic.
You're correct. There was a very quick response to that. Unfortunately, we were not able to apply for any type of reimbursement for that quick response that we provided to small businesses. So I think we all would stand by the decision that was made to infuse those dollars in the community, but it was a large number, like 1.7 million.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for the presentation. Very interesting. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd make a motion to approve the funding request, but I would ask that the Go Topeka staff look at our allocated funds and determine if there are business incentives that maybe are underperforming or not meeting their maximum threshold, that we may be able to keep a close eye on what is allocated versus unallocated. And again, I don't want to get too low, and we may want to look at a future meeting, set a threshold for what is allocated versus unallocated, as a percentage so that we know that we have that much in reserves for a project in the future.
Good suggestion. Have a motion to have second.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Nager. You'll call the roll, please.
Okay, Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dobler,
Yes.
Council Members Emerson,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Commissioners Rapon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
and Mays.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, motion's been approved. We'll move to action item 3E. If you'll read, please.
E is approval of incentive funding in the amount of $363,000 for the Choose Topeka 2.0 Talent Incentive Program.
Okay, Trina?
Thank you. So I'm Trina Goss, Director of Business and Talent Initiatives with Go Topeka. On to the next one. Before we jump into Choose Topeka 2.0, many of you may have seen the press release this week about our population increase, so we'll go to the next slide for that. From 2021 to 2022, the population in Shawnee County increased by 2,265 people, which was the highest spike in population that we have seen in 10 years. Out of the 5 largest counties in Kansas, so Johnson, Wyandotte, Douglas, Shawnee, and Sedgwick, we had the highest population increase at 1.3%. Since we're talking about Choose Topeka, we will say that about 10% of that increase is due to the Choose Topeka program and residents moving here through the program. So we'll jump to the next one. Before I jump into employer match, this is in your packet as well, but the success of Choose Topeka over the last 3 years has been pretty great. We've had 99 individuals and families who have relocated to Shawnee County and are still here through the Choose Topeka program. We did go through 2 rounds of funding totaling $600,000 over the last 3 years. 73 of those employees were through the employer match program. So they came to work for a local employer, and we matched 50% of the incentive that the employer provided to the candidate to move to Topeka or Shawnee County. Going forward, we reached the end of our funding at the end of 2022, so it's kind of nice how that just had a hard stop there. So we have been evaluating the program as we knew it was coming to an end, and as this is written into Choose Topeka 2.0, it's one of the Choose Topeka 2.0 is written into Momentum 27 as one of the initiatives. We really evaluated the program and looked at the recommendations that the Momentum Steering Committee had made and have some proposed changes for the program to go forward. So with the employer match program, we would like to continue that as it has been in the past, which is offering up to $15,000 for a candidate who is purchasing a home and up to $10,000 for a candidate who is renting a home. And again, that's a match. So we would provide up to $5,000 for rentals, up to $7,500 back to the employer for a purchase. We want to continue that, but then we also want to include the opportunity for new Washburn University graduates. So Forge, Rhett Flood with Forge Young Professionals recently had an event and heard from a number of Washburn students, and a lot of them said that they don't really want to stay in Shawnee County when they graduate. So we're hoping that by providing an incentive for them to stay with the employer match program, that will incentivize them to stay in Shawnee County, but also encourage employers to really work with Washburn University on providing job opportunities for our local graduates. So another new addition that we are adding is that new employees that go through the employer match program must participate in a welcome program where this will happen twice a year, where we will invite them to spend a day or an afternoon, depending on time, and hear from local elected officials such as yourselves, from community leaders, learn about different community organizations and boards that they could become involved in, learn about Forge, learn about events that are going on in the community. So they really get a feel of what Topeka has to offer that will hopefully make them really want to stay here and feel like this is a place where they belong. We will also provide a welcome package to the new employee, which would include discounts to local restaurants and activities, memberships to different programs and like the Discovery Center, and also just Topeka swag so they can show off their Topeka pride. After 1 year, this is another new addition, we'll have the employee complete a survey that will provide some of their family demographics, if they had a trailing partner that came here with them, if they found employment within Topeka, and we will also, as part of the immersion services, we will help that trailing partner find employment as well, and connect them with employers. So we'll go on to the next one. Another new addition, two of them actually, is the Boomerang and Exiting Military Program. So this would be a $5,000 incentive to individuals who maybe were born and raised in Shawnee County, they moved away for whatever reason, and now they want to come back. So we would provide a $5,000 incentive to them with the requirement that they are purchasing their home, because that would make them stickier, and that they have a minimum $50,000 salary from their employer in Shawnee County. And we chose that number, 50,000, because our average wages in Shawnee County right now are just slightly higher than that, and so we want to make sure that they are right in that range as they come in. Again, just like the employer match program, we'll have the welcome package delivered to their home. We would love for them to come to our welcome program, and we will, as they're considering moving back, we will connect them with employment opportunities through a new career connection program platform that we would like to add to the Choose Topeka website. This career connection platform, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about that, will allow an individual to upload their resume, put in the skills that they have, and it will automatically match them with job opportunities in Shawnee County that match their skills and experience. If they, maybe they want to go into a certain career and they don't have a lot of the skills or certifications yet, it will recommend training and certification programs within Shawnee County and online that they could attend to get that experience and skills. Again, going back to what's on your screen, the immersion services would be provided, matching them up with real estate agents or remodeling companies that are local if they want to rehab a home, helping their partners find employment as well. And just like the matching program, we'll have the requirement that they have to live in Shawnee County and work for a Shawnee County employer for 1 year, and that they will complete the survey after 1 year as well. So I kind of already touched on the Welcome and Immersion program. Again, this will happen twice per year. It'll be free for any of the new employees who move here through the Choose Topeka program, but we also want to make it available for any other employees that a company may hire that they would like to really get immersed in the community. And we can do that for a $150 charge to the employer that would be paid by the company. And if they would like to make that investment, we would definitely love to have them as a part of that. And a newly relocated employee must participate in one program session. Okay. So the funding for Choose Topeka 2.0, we're requesting $300,000 for the employer match, boomerang, and military programs. And this would be the same amount we've requested for the last 2 rounds of funding for Choose Topeka. We're also requesting $65,000 for the welcome packages, the welcome program events, and the career connection platform on the Choose Topeka website, with a total of $365,000 from Carry Forward. Molly's jumping in.
I want to add one point of clarification just based on our last conversation. Choose Topeka itself was not a budgetary program. It's a funding cycle. So as the funding runs out, then the program runs out. So it just happened to be that the timing of the funding running out was at the end of the year. But also just to note that as we do look at the carry forward at the end of the year, that is something that if we didn't use all this funding, we have historically pushed it forward to the next year to utilize those funds in the following year. So this is an item that is specifically meant to be a carry forward request instead of a budgetary request, because we want that funding cycle to live on past the end of the year. That makes sense.
Questions?
I have a quick comment.
Councilwoman Nager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to applaud you guys on really the creativity in seeing the opportunity for the boomerang program. That's exactly what happened to me. I won't be qualifying for this, but I really think that this is a wonderful way for people who grew up here to not only come back, have an incentive to come back, but also really get involved in all the different stuff that you know has continued to develop in Topeka while you've been gone. So I just am very, very excited about this addition. I think it's a very natural fit for it, and thank you guys for presenting this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Following up on that, I've talked to at least 4 couples in the last couple of years who want to move back to Topeka, but they didn't qualify for the Choose Topeka thing, but they would be the boomerang folks because they have ties to Topeka. My question is just curiosity more than anything. Of the people who are choosing Topeka, can you give us an idea of what kind of careers or industry that is attracting them to Topeka, or where are we feeling that, you know, that need here?
It's really been all across the board. I mean, I've had, Evergy has participated, Advisors Excel is a huge participator, but we've also had candidates move here to work at Mars, and some of our other manufacturing. I mean, it's all across the board. So I've had 33 employers now who have participated in Choose Topeka. That includes the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. So, I mean, it's everyone.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Cook?
So the total amount that we have spent to date on Choose Topeka is roughly 600,000
Yeah, over 3 years.
over 3 years. And we've had 99, almost 100 people that have qualified for that program.
That's correct.
So math's not my strong suit, but that equals out to about $6,000
Yes,
per person.
yes.
So Commissioner Mays, when you were talking about a small business incentive that is receiving $7,500 from the small business grant, each person that we bring to Topeka is costing us $600,000, or investing, maybe not costing, but investing $600,000 into getting them to move here. And 60. Yes,
6,000.
6,000 per individual.
6,000.
Yeah.
Here, I got a calculator.
Hey, I said, what I start with, math is not my strong suit. But it's $6,000 investment for each person.
Yes.
And I think we always need to look at what are the economics, and not just what are the gains, but where are we investing our economic dollars. So we're not just investing in big businesses, but it's across the board, and also investing in people. And so there are employers such as Mars who are major investors who are also benefiting from this.
Councilman Emerson?
Yeah, and I guess just to maybe follow up to Commissioner Cook's question, but I thought you said it was 200 and some people. It was 10% of the 2,265.
So the population increase includes everyone who's moved here. So that would include families, trailing partners. Yeah.
Okay. So really, you got 227 people coming to Topeka through this
Roughly.
program.
Over the last year, through
Okay.
2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
I think in addition to looking at the people this serves, I don't know what the marketing budget is, the advertising budget, but from what I understand, this has received a lot of press. So I think those are dollars you can't really put a number to. So
It has, and it's funny that you just mentioned that, because that's what Matt and Molly have been whispering to me to talk about our the earned media that we've received through Choose Topeka. I want to say it's $12 to $13 million in earned media, and that's international media as well. So even though we've had a total of 99 individuals and families moving to Topeka through the program, that doesn't mean that others of that larger population gain didn't hear about Topeka because of the earned media that we've received.
Mr.
Commissioner?
Mayor, talk about the funding source. I want to just clarify and maybe just distinguish. We were just talking about carry forward funds for the last item, and this is identified as carry forward funds as well of $365,000.
Yes.
So is this money that carry forward funds that we had already discussed during our budget during December, or an additional new $365,000 for carry forward funds?
New. It is new.
Okay.
Yeah, it's new. And again, since it's a funding cycle, you can do math. It was 600,000, but that was over a period of 3 years. So if we stay at the same rate, it could last us the same amount of time as the last funding
But
round
between
did,
the
but
prior item and then this item, we will have reduced the carry forward funds by $565,000.
correct.
And I just, again, think we need to keep an eye on our carry forward funds, because every dollar that we do allocate means that's less that we have to allocate for other projects.
Correct.
Not that, again, not disparaging this, but just keeping a mindful eye of what we have left in the bank.
And I don't know if this makes a difference or not, but with the employer matching program, those funds aren't paid out until the person has lived here for a year. So anything that's incurred in 2023 would not be paid out until 2024 for that part of the program.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Mays?
I guess I just have a question as to why is the $65,000 split out into a separate item?
Because we just wanted to show that the $300,000 is going to be allocated specifically for the individuals that are moving here for the program
But
itself.
is it going into like a separate fund or anything? I mean, I'd hate for us to run out of money for the people and, you know, have $20,000 left over for Topeka
Right.
flags.
I will be tracking very closely how much we spend for the packages and for the program events and things like that. And definitely, if we are able to pull a little bit, if we need to pull a little bit more from that 65, I do think that money will be available there. But I'll be tracking all of that closely.
Commissioner Rippon?
Yes.
Are you planning on tracking the people that receive these funds further down the line?
Yes.
Like maybe in 5-10 years, we can look back and say, these people stayed in Topeka.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. So the survey that we'll be putting out after 1 year, I would like to push that out every year to them, just at least to see their overall satisfaction with the community and make sure they're still here.
You know, I think part of that survey would maybe give you an indication of their satisfaction, but how they have advocated for the program themselves, and maybe they've brought other people into
Yes.
it because of their experience with the program.
Yes.
So I think it's important you have that survey on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, I agree.
Deputy Mayor,
I'll move approval.
motion to approve by Deputy Mayor Dobler, second by Councilwoman Nager. If you will call the roll, please.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dobler,
Yes.
Council members Emerson,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Commissioners Rapon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
and Mays.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to presentations. And we
Is
have, go ahead, read.
2022 Growth Organization of Topeka Fourth Quarter Report.
Okay, well, you have the fourth quarter report printed in a bound form in front of you. You also received that electronically. The February meeting is always a little bit interesting because it feels like we were just here for December, right? So, but obviously, based on the agenda tonight and the things that we've discussed, there's been a lot going on at the Go Topeka office. There are a couple of us that are going to address you to give some updates and share a fresh video. That's just a marketing piece we wanted to share with you all, but we won't take a lot of your time tonight. I do want to touch on a few items. I'll start to talk about new business attraction. So one of the items there's two main items that we've been focused on since the beginning of the year, aside from the things that you would expect in the traditional environment with our marketing and project responses. But we're really trying to figure out how to best position ourselves for mega projects and the spinoffs from mega projects. So the criteria for those projects, there are a number of them, but the top criteria, a couple of those we don't currently have the availability of land at the size that these projects need that are shovel-ready within the time period that they need. So most of those projects are needing at least 200 shovel-ready acres for the development, or the ability to have those sites shovel-ready within 12 months, which is very difficult, especially when you're looking at the load factors for their electricity and their power requirements and supply chain issues with some of the parts and pieces that are required for transformers and things like that. So Matt and I are part of a regional group that is talking amongst ourselves and amongst our peers to decide how we can better position the region itself, and definitely want Topeka to be a big piece of the pie when it comes to future opportunities. The other thing that we're focused on with new business attraction is something we've talked to you all about a lot, and that is the development and growth of our aviation aerospace sector and the opportunities that we have at both of our airports. So there's a very active aviation aerospace task force here in the community that we have seeded. A couple of you have been involved with, and we have had very direct and strategic conversations in that group and with the state government, with Lieutenant Governor. And just a couple of weeks ago, we received some feedback from the governor with a 90-day action mandate. So we're working really hard to understand what Go Topeka's role is in that, and how much we can affect the community's readiness when it comes to projects that would be looking at the airport. So we will be marching toward action steps that will be hopefully acceptable to the state, and show them that we're ready for them to help come alongside us and compete for projects in the aerospace and aviation sector. So thank you to those of you who've been involved in that. And that's all I'll say about new business attraction. And the whole team is here for questions. I'm happy to pause now, or we can move on to the next section, whichever you'd like.
Councilman Emerson.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Ms. Howley, thank you for the report. A question now, can you elaborate on what you just said about a 90-day mandate? What is
Sure.
that?
So we've been working with the state to make sure that they're aware of the assets that we have here at Forbes and Billard, and to receive feedback from them about how we can better position ourselves and what they're seeing in the market, because we really haven't been, until recently, about the last 2 years, haven't been privy to a lot of the projects that the state sees within that industry. So we're leaning on our state partners. We've been lucky to have Deputy Secretary Paul Hughes come and tour our airports and give us feedback around what kinds of changes need to be made out there to really even get companies to take a look at us. And so we did have a site visit we were shortlisted for in the fall, and received feedback from that company that we're just not ready yet. We don't have the infrastructure as a community, and that's everything from training to the availability of buildings and sites, to just some of the policies and procedures and approvals that need to be had to check the boxes when they're doing due diligence for those projects. So working with the state to understand that, we requested a meeting with Lieutenant Governor in January, and we brought a group of stakeholders and elected leaders to his office and kind of presented where we are. And the feedback that we received was that we need to be doing more. So he wants to have feedback from us within 90 days and would like to see an action, not just an action plan. So we are going back to him in 90 days, and we'll hopefully provide to him proof that we are ready and eager to compete in that industry.
Councilman.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I guess as a follow-up, aren't there 200 acres at Forbes that could be shovel-ready? I mean, streets are in out there, sewers and water lines are in out there. There's a large Westar or Evergy now substation out there. There's railroad right there.
There are 200 acres at Forbes. It's my understanding that the utilities that are needed are not to the site and would need extensions. And so we are trying to work with the engineers that MTA has engaged to understand what the cost of those utilities extensions would be and the timing for them. So that is one site that we're looking at for the mega projects. We just need to make sure that we're using sites that wouldn't be, that it would be the highest and best use of that site, because if it happens to be an aeronautical use site, we wouldn't want to put a company in there that is not going to take advantage, and it could be located somewhere else in the community if we can find another place. So right now, we're doing inventory of that. There are some other sites in that region of the community, kind of across the road, that could be potential sites as well. And we're in the inventory and information gathering stage right now about the timing and cost to make those sites truly shovel ready, and the power requirements is a big question that I can't answer, that we're working with Evergy on.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Sure. Further questions?
Okay, we'll move along then.
Thank you. Molly?
Hello again. So I just want to share about a few things that we've had going on the workforce side just since the start of the year. So a couple of weeks ago, we hosted our Made for Manufacturing event with Washburn Tech, which was a really great event. We had 18 local manufacturers attend and about 130 high school students from all of the high schools in or all of the public high schools in Shawnee County, with the exception of Silver Lake. So Molly says she'll talk to them. It was a really great event. A lot of wonderful feedback from the employers, who many said it was one of the best events that they've been to connect with high school students. Commissioner Mays actually spoke with them during the presentation portion. And we're just really excited to do this again. We'll have another event in October, which could end up being more of a regional event as well. Rhett Flood and I today went to our first career fair together. We were at KU most of the afternoon today, and we are connecting with students who are looking for internship programs, and some graduating students as well who are looking for careers. So we were there, and this is a strategy that we have for this year, is to attend a few career fairs and promote Topeka as a great place to work and live. And when we know that some of our local employers are going to be there, we want to be there to be a support for them as they're trying to sell, job opportunities with their companies. We want to be there to sell Topeka. So it was really great today. We talked to a lot of kids who think they're going to be great, and so hopefully many of them will be here in Topeka soon. On the child care front, March 1st is the Child Care Advocacy Day at the Capitol. So if you are able to attend that day and would like to talk about child care with the legislatures, then that is a great day to do that. So March 1st. Also, we're working with the United Way, Kansas Children's Service League, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas to put on a forum on April 18th with local employers to talk about child care and a number of other family-friendly issues that might be had in the workplace. So that should be a big event. Blue Cross is actually the main host of it, and they're the ones putting it on, but we'll be there to support as well. Jobs for America's graduates for Kansas, they are bringing all of their graduating seniors from across the state to Topeka February 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So they're spending the mornings at the Capitol, and in the afternoons, we've connected them with several employers that they will be bringing the students to tour and learn about career opportunities there. And also, we're working with Kansas Works for a tour of exiting military from Fort Riley. There will be 40 transitioning soldiers and their families who will be in town that day to, again, tour local companies, learn about career opportunities, and then they'll end the day at Washburn Tech for a presentation to learn about housing, childcare, workforce, and just overall lifestyle in Topeka. So those are some exciting things going on. Any questions on any of that?
Trina,
Yeah.
GTP, don't they have a military liaison position or person? Are they involved with this at all?
Thanks, Curtis.
Yeah, Curtis is with the Military Relations Council, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
What about, isn't there a Sergeant Brown, retired Marine? Has he been connected with that at all? I know that he had been talking to Curtis at one time.
Yeah, I am not sure.
Okay, I'll follow up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Rippon.
Trina, in regard to the employees that work here,
Yes.
but don't live in Shawnee County, are we seeing a trend one way or the other, or do we have more of them moving back to Shawnee County, or?
That's a good question. That's not something I have an answer for
Okay.
right now, but I can look into it and get back to you on
Okay.
that.
Further questions for Trina? Thank you, Trina.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, you get me last to close out the evening. I want to give a quick update on Plug and Play and some of the things that we've got going on there. So coming out of our last batch, our batch 4, we had the summit in Silicon Valley back in November. Out of that batch, we had 12 startups in that accelerator program, 3 partners. Out of that, we had 25 virtual startup events, 1 partner pilot showcase event, and 1 partner roundtable with the CEO of Plug and Play, resulting in 23 startup introductions, 12 continuing conversations, 8 NDAs, and 2 pilots. We have now had our Plug and Play program running for about 2 years. We are seeing really strong success rates coming out of the animal health vertical, one of the strongest starts to the verticals at the Plug and Play program. So we're really excited for what's to come. Just coming up this year, we have 2 batches. We'll have a spring and a fall batch. March 15th is our selection day for the upcoming spring batch. We're looking forward to that. You can see there's an itinerary of programming throughout that time frame. And then we are incredibly excited that we are actually bringing Expo back to Topeka in June. So this will be the first full showcase that we've had here in Topeka. Up to this point, we kind of started in the pandemic, so everything's been virtual, or in the past year, we've had events out in Silicon Valley. So we will be hosting not only the animal health vertical, but also the ag tech vertical from North Dakota will be here in Topeka as well. So we'll be bringing in startups from throughout the U.S. and hopefully international. We've had quite a few international startups participating in our program. And we'll also be bringing the corporate sponsors from the ag tech program here to Topeka as well. So we're looking forward to really showcasing what Topeka has to offer. There will be more information coming on events soon, but we've got a 2-day event planned. This will be a huge showcase. We'll be bringing in our partner investors and venture capital angel investment, and we're really excited for this event to showcase Topeka. In fall, we're also looking at the opportunity. The selection day for fall is in late August. And depending on how this event goes in June, we're hoping that we can also bring the selection day back here in August as well. And then just to kind of showcase what type of event that we're looking to host here in June, we've put together a little video montage for you of our trip to Silicon Valley back this past November, where several members of the team and community were able to attend. So we just wanted to showcase really the excitement we have around this event and what we're hoping to showcase here. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take those, and if not, that's our wrap up for this evening.
I have a question.
Commissioner Mays.
So for the expo, how many people are you expecting to have for that?
I would say a couple of hundred for sure. As soon as we have the selection day and understand how many startups we have in each accelerator program, that will help us identify how many people we will have coming from the startup side. We'll actually also be bringing in potential new corporate investors and sponsors for each of those verticals. So that'll be an interesting showcase event as well. The first day, we'll have a showcase event for corporate sponsors and a showcase similar to Trina's program that she's talking about on kind of a Topeka immersion for our startups. And then the second day will be the full showcase event where we'll have panels, presentations, demos, networking activities throughout the day.
And do you have a location selected for this yet?
We're nailing down locations, trying to highlight as many locations as we can to showcase the city, but also trying to strategize logistics as far as moving that many people around the community.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
No further presentations. We'll move on. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
No,
Okay.
we do not.
No public comment. Is there any further business for the JEDO board this evening? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for attending.